Welcome back. Senator Jeff Merkley on the line with us. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
It is great having you, as always. Last time you were on last week, you were trying to get into that detention center in Brownsville, Texas. You said what you had glimpsed was it looked like children in cages. I understand you've now had an opportunity to actually visit one of these facilities. What have you learned?
Well, I was able to visit a processing center, but I have not yet been in a detention facility. And the detention facilities are operated under contract to the Office of Refugee Relocation. They have a strategy of keeping congressionals out that involves you have to reserve your space 2 weeks in advance, and they might not grant it, so it makes it very hard to put it on your calendar. And furthermore, that's outrageous because we need to be able to see, members of Congress need to be able to see what is happening on a real-time basis, not see some show put on that they have 2 weeks to plan for.
We have hundreds, maybe thousands of children who've been torn away from their parents because of this brand new policy put into place by the Trump administration. Yes, there were some single kids in, quote, detention during the Obama administration. They were mostly kids who arrived here all alone, or their parents were abusive or whatever. I mean, there were legitimate reasons for it, but this is something horribly new. And yet Trump is saying this is a Democrat policy. The Democrats can fix this. Your thoughts, your response?
Yes, this is just a big fat lie. I know that will shock everyone, and I never thought I would say that about President of the United States, but there it is. This was a policy developed and wrestled with over almost from the time that Trump came into office. His team kept saying, no, it's going too far to hurt children in order to deter people from seeking asylum in the U.S. But as it continued to dehumanize immigrants, including the president's speech in January, in which he characterized immigrants as just MS-13 gang members, and then more recently he called immigrants animals. He dehumanized them. It became acceptable as of April this year to actually adopt this policy of saying, yes, we will hurt children to deter families from seeking asylum. Think about Lady Liberty with her quote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free," and envision now what her quote is, or what her statement to the world is. It's this: if you are persecuted abroad and you wash up on the shores of the United States of America, we will treat you as a criminal and we will snatch your children away from you, and you may never know if you will see them again. She isn't carrying a torch anymore, a light to the world. She is carrying a pair of handcuffs.
This distinction seems to be entirely missing in the mainstream media. The distinction between people who are coming into the United States illegally, whether they're crossing the Rio Grande or whether they're overstaying a visa or coming in as visitors, but are here, without documentation because they're looking for a job, versus people who are literally fleeing violence in their home countries. They're fleeing threats of death. They're fleeing family members who've been killed. Some of the most horrific circumstances. They are genuine refugees, and we are treating them as if they were criminals. How do we break through the media to educate Americans about this? I'm guessing 9 out of 10 Americans watch these reports on TV and assume it's all about, people who just, swam the Rio Grande.
Well, I think that this emphasis on families seeking asylum who are arriving together, they're coming to border points and telling their stories is really moving America. I've had so many people come up to me and say, my family came here as asylum seekers. If I had been separated from my parents when we came, I just can't imagine the trauma I would have experienced and the stress and anxiety my parents would have experienced. I think we have to keep telling their stories. And yesterday, the administration created a new definition of asylum designed to make it virtually impossible for anyone from Central America to seek asylum in the United States, no matter how horrific the persecution is that they have suffered. So that's an additional black mark on our nation.
Was this an administrative thing? How did they do this?
Yes. Well, they basically, Jeff Sessions issued a new definition of asylum that excludes persecution by gangs or any form of family persecution. And for example, I met a woman at a respite center operated by the Sacred Heart Catholic Church down there in Texas, and she told me her story. She was many months pregnant. She had been in a family in Honduras that was confronted by the local the organized crime operation, the drug organized crime operation that ran the community, and they got afoul of it, and they sent a team of men to gang rape her as punishment and threatened her life. She was raped, and she had to flee immediately, and she had to make very quick arrangements for her children. She didn't know how her children were faring back home. She was released because she is pregnant, but under the definition established yesterday, the new definition put forward, she is immediately cut off from the possibility of seeking asylum, even though when she arrived here, the policy was different.
That's extraordinary. What do you, it seems like this is being normalized. This is being more and more accepted. It's being less and less discussed. And I'm not hearing anything from the Republicans, certainly, and very little from the Democrats about doing something about, you know, again, dealing with asylum seekers here. What are you seeing there in the United States Senate, Senator?
I've talked to a number of my Republican colleagues who have said, oh, yeah, this is just terrible, but they are absolutely unwilling to speak out publicly about it. They have said that they will whisper in the ear of the administration, but whispering in the ears of the administration isn't enough. This shouldn't be partisan. Cruelty to children, inflicting harm on children in order to influence parents is just beyond anything that we could have imagined. We've had some child snatching policies in the past. During slavery, children were snatched from their parents' arms. Native American tribes experienced the grievance of children being taken away from them. But we are far beyond that period in our history, and to reestablish a new chapter of child snatching, which has absolutely, there's no reason to separate a family awaiting the asylum hearing. It just, I mean, if you have the hearing and they're admitted to the U.S., you don't want to have wreaked psychological damage on the family that is now being welcomed into the U.S. If they're not welcomed into the U.S., if they don't meet the test for asylum and they're returning to their home country, there's certainly no reason to have made their experience in the United States one in which they've been egregiously assaulted. So this just has to end.
Yeah. In the last minute we have, what would you suggest the people listening to this program right now do?
Well, support Feinstein's Keep Families Together Act. Also call upon call your members of the House and Senate and tell them to co-sponsor this act. Support the act that I'm putting forward that allows members of Congress access within a day's notice to see what's going on in detention facilities with children around the country, so we can really see how children are being cared for and what their needs are, and rise to their assistance. Weigh in with committee chairs that we need to have hearings on this topic. And just publicize it with your friends on your Facebook and so forth, that this child snatching, damage to children, trauma against children is un-American. There is no moral code in the universe. There is no religious tradition in the universe that would support this. That has to end. Yeah, this is absolutely wrong. And the phone number for the Congressional Switchboard, and you just tell them, you know, who you want to talk to, and they'll connect you, is 202-225-3121. Senator Jeff Merkley, one of the great ones, merkley.senate.gov. You can tweet him at @SendJeffMerkley. Senator, thanks so much for being with us. Thank you so much, Tom. Great talking with you, as always. We'll be back.